Hallie Oakwood, welcome to Writers in Relationship.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me, Gail. It's good
It's
to be here.
it's a real pleasure, and we've had some nice little interactions at our meetings, at Hodgepodge meetings. So it's nice to have a little bit. This is not the first time we've met, so I like that. Um, and I have this is a podcast about the intersection of writing and relationships. So I always like to start with origin stories. And I don't think I even know this. Like, so we met through Hodgepodge. How did you first come across Hodgepodge? How did you decide to submit?
Well, I was looking online for flash fiction and art, and I came across Hodgepodge, and I was just thought it was wonderful, all the paintings and the fact that there was a different painting, a different theme to each issue, and the artists were included, and it was linked to a story. And it had lots of different flash that was linked to that theme. And I just thought it'd be really interesting to submit to it and get more involved, really.
Have you been doing a lot of Flash? Is that a big part of your writing?
I love Flash. I absolutely love it. I started my writing. Well, I've always written stories, but got it kind of snowballed when I did an online course with Gotham Writers about 6 or 7 years ago. And after that, I got more into Flash. And since then, my stories, it's weird because they've got shorter, smaller and smaller and smaller till I was submitting a lot of 50-word stories. And I thought it's fantastic because you've got to really think about every single word. And now I've kind of gone the other way and I'm looking more at longer pieces, but I just love Flash. It's just so amazing the way that you can tell so much in such a small kind of package.
And you can finish it, right? Like a novel, it's a very different pace, and you really have to have stamina. And with Flash, it's like I can see the end in sight in, a reasonable amount of time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I am thinking long term. I've got a novel in my head that I am planning on writing, but at the moment, my focus is on Flash because I think that you can also develop as a writer so many skills through Flash that you can use. I mean, I'm new to novels, so I don't know, but I've heard writers say that they can treat each chapter like like a story almost. So in a way, there's quite a lot of overlap anyway, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sort of there's some training and some skill building that you can acquire. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your setting, where you are. I noticed your accent, and I'm sure our listeners who are, I think, more in North America are going to be, oh, there's a British accent here. So tell us a little bit where you are, and also your relationship with your setting, because that's interesting, and how it maybe if it impacts your writing.
Okay. Well, I've lived in a couple of different settings, but I'm about 2 hours drive from London and I'm on a coastal town. So basically, I spend a lot of time on the beach. That has influenced my writing, but more kind of moody beaches in winter because it gets quite cold and quite bleak on the beach in winter. It's not your kind of typical kind of coconut sun cream type beach. So that has influenced my writing quite a bit in stories, like the kind of cold wind and the angry sea and all those kind of gothic type beaches. But um yeah, I just love the beach. It's like a typical kind of seaside town, English seaside town in the summer with like ice creams and donkey rides and things. It's very traditional. But also I spend a lot of time in London because I've got family in London and I used to live near London myself. And that also influences my writing because I love all the historical side, all the buildings and everything. I just find London's got a completely different vibe. It's much more hyper and busy. So yeah, that is part of what is influencing my plans for my novel. I want to write about historical London. So that is quite a big influence as well. I also spend a lot of time in the theatre because I help in a theatre. And that also has probably influenced some of my stories, just all the stuff that goes on before the show and people watching the audience and stuff. So yeah,
How are you
quite a
involved in
few things
theater?
really.
'Cause I have a theater background and I love theater, so I'm curious about that. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, my role basically is kind of keeping doing things before the show because there's so much that goes on before the show takes place. And there's so much in the actual theatre that goes on, the back scenes with all the sound and the lighting and rehearsals and people running around like headless chickens. And normally, like a lot of the audience want to go in early and see. We've had people like come like 2 hours early and they say, "Can I go and sit down?" And you say, "Well, no, no, it's not open yet." My so there's quite a few things that go on just before you even take the tickets, like before the show starts with helping with stuff. And then obviously helping people, showing people to their seats, dealing with problems, loads of things really. Yeah.
And have you always been interested in theater, like since you were younger?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I've not really acted in theatre, but I've always been interested in seeing the shows. And now I just love it. It's just such a fantastic atmosphere. You always feel good whenever you go there and there's a show on, whatever's going on, then you go to the show and it's just amazing. I just think it's so good, live theatre. And a lot of people do love it. We get so many people, and it's so lovely to see people come back regularly. You get so many regulars that come. And also the other thing is you get a lot of people that go on their own. And I think that's really nice as well because they've got the courage to go. I had one lady that said, I love coming to the shows and it's like my treat. And I never feel sort of alone coming because it's such a lovely, friendly atmosphere. So that's good as well. You just get a massive cross section of people going.
Yeah, it's like it's a communal experience, really,
It
in an
is.
era where we don't have that many of those, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I think live theatre is something that we've got to sort of keep going. It's so good, so important. I know there have been a couple of shows that where humans have been replaced with AI, but I think that the general theme is that, people want to see humans on the stage. They want to see a live show. So that's brilliant. Keep that going.
I agree. Oh my God, I can't even, yeah, can't go there today. The idea of not having humans in theater. Oh God. Um, Tell us when you started writing and how that relationship with writing has unfolded over your life.
Okay. Well, I started off my kind of creativity really was my background is art, and I did textile design at college, fabric design, and art. Writing was always slightly more of a second place thing. I always did it a bit, but then about 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, I sort of my writing took over really. I think it was just a couple of years before lockdown, I did the writing, and then it wasn't possible to sort of go out to an art course or anything, or go out and do art when lockdown. And I did a lot more writing then. And then I sent off to magazines, and it kind of snowballed from there. I started having the intention of doing a novel, but then I got into Flash, and I just at the moment I sort of fell in love with Flash. Like I said, I've been doing more of that. But yeah, I've always loved creative things. Like I say, I've always loved art as well.
And when you were a kid, did you do a lot of creative projects and maybe tell us a little bit about that? Like as a child, how you were
Absolutely.
creative?
Yeah. I used to love doing painting. I mean, not major painting because I think my parents probably didn't want me to sort of be getting paint all over the carpets. But I remember we had these painting by numbers kits, and I just thought they were so cool because you do this thing and it looks really good when you finished it. But I just did loads of art. Yeah, that was my thing when I was very young. And then I did some stories as well with my sister, and I used to illustrate them in, and that was fun. Yeah. So I've always loved art. And then I went to art college when I left school, and then as I went into textile design, and I did upholstery, basically designing fabrics for furniture. But it was really cool because we had a lot of competitions. It's very industry based. Like I remember we had a competition for Marks and Spencer's men's underpants, and my friend won it. So that's her claim to fame. But yeah, so that was fun.
That's great. Yeah, so it's such a different part of your brain that you use creatively when you're doing some sort of like visual design versus crafting a story. Do you see there being overlap? I'm curious about that.
Um, yeah, I think I do in some ways. Yeah, yeah. I try. I definitely get. Um, I find inspiration from paintings, and like when I was in New York, I went to New York to visit recently, and we actually went to Washington as well. We went to an art gallery in Washington, and some of the paintings there, the Italian artists, I took some pictures, and afterwards I looked, and that's been real kind of inspiration for my story because there was one of a teenage boy, and it was just him, and he was in all these fine clothes. He looked like he was some sort of royalty. I think it was about 16th century painting, but his face just conveyed so much, his expression. It was just quite amazing. Just, his eyes, and he's sort of almost like conveying the fact that he looked almost awkward and shy, but also a sense of knowing, if that makes sense. And yeah, I could almost write a whole story based on that. It was just incredible. But I think going back to the art and flash, I do definitely see things in my mind when I write a story. Yeah, I see a picture, but I don't know if that is what you meant.
Yeah, sure. I mean, anything. I mean, and it's interesting that kind of like leads into the whole hodgepodge thing about how we look at a painting and then a story kind of emerges. And I wonder if your story is um uh Wolf Moon, correct? From
Yeah.
our issue. And just maybe just tell us a little bit about the painting that you used from Emma Tumanyan's collection that we have in the issue and just how that process worked for you. And maybe just describe the painting and then tell us a little bit about how that story came from that painting.
Well, the painting was of a group of vampires, and I from that it just kind of triggered because I tend to think about things, and then I sort of they settle in my mind, and then I think about them over a few days if the painting lasts, and that painting really stayed with me. It was so powerful and so bold. And then I thought about the idea of someone being a vampire but trying to keep it hidden. So then I thought about the idea of it being something like a school teacher. And then it went on from there to my story about a school principal who is a vampire, but he wants to keep it hidden. And then I thought about someone else coming into the story. And there's a girl in the story, Claire, and she's actually a werewolf. And so she's basically a predator to the vampire. But it's all hidden under the surface. And I don't know, it all kind of came as ideas from that painting somehow.
So there's an alchemy, right? It's like it's hard to even know. It's like something gets transmitted and it, right? Like it just kind of sparks little people and things that happen, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your experience being edited and um, maybe tell us a little bit about editing experiences that have been positive for you and why you think those have gone well.
Well, the experience at Hodgepodge was incredibly positive. I felt like everyone was so welcoming and friendly and really helpful and encouraging, and it's just been amazing. And to be welcomed into the group and having that group launch where everyone read their stories was just it was just magical. I think it's such a lovely atmosphere. I always think when writers as a group share their stories and read them out loud, there's something just really wonderful about that. Um, as far as editing, it, I think that's probably been the most positive. But I think quite a few editors are just very, very busy, so you often don't get as personal a response. I would say that's been the most personal a response, but most of the time you just get it through um, emails. But I don't know about for longer pieces because I haven't submitted any longer pieces. I'm talking about maybe 5,000 words plus. If there'd be more of an interaction there, but definitely Hodgepodge was very positive.
Who did you work with, Hallie?
Marco?
Oh, Marco. Yeah, it's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we're always kind of trying to up our game, and we've done a little bit of professional development, and I'm personally also curious about that because I've had as a writer a mix of, like almost nothing, which is, fine on some level. But, I always want my pieces to be better. So like I want editing. And then sometimes like I'll have editors who are, just sort of harsh and critical in a way that doesn't feel inspiring. So I'm just sort of always like looking for like what's the magic touch, what makes it really, really generative and synchronistic. So I'm always kind of looking for that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's hard. I think when you have shorter pieces, there typically is less engagement from editors than, longer pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Mm.
So just in closing, if you had one piece of advice for writers who are, because it's mostly writers who listen to my podcast, what advice would you impart to people who are listening?
I think to a couple of things I would say to always keep your work because sometimes you might have just stuff in a notebook or on that you've typed out and you might not like it, you might hate it, but you don't know if you might come back to it, even if in a few years' time, and you've changed and you've developed your skills and you can kind of rewrite it and turn it into something really creative. So I would say that um, was one of the main ones. The other one is just to keep going and keep um, just keep doing it if you love it. Keep doing it and keep believing in yourself because you just don't know what's around the corner. You got to keep believing in yourself, and then good things might happen. You just send it out there, send it out there. It does take a leap of faith to send things out there, but just have a go. And the worst that can happen is you get a rejection, but you can learn from that and you can maybe adapt it and then send it out again. So I would say that.
Perseverance.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, well, congrats on Wolf Moon, and I'm looking forward to reading your novel. I know it's not finished, but I love the idea.
Oh no.
So
Oh,
yeah,
thank you. Yeah.
keep in touch, and it was a total pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.